that swept to power this weekend.
Wait, did I hear that right? There was a surge of far-right parties in Europe. In terms of phrases you don't want to hear, that is right up there with "it's malignant" and "we're losing cabin pressure." Because, lest we forget, when Europe goes far-right, they go far-right through Belgium. And in case you think I might be exaggerating, take a look at Greece's Golden Dawn Party.
The party campaigns with the slogan "Clear the Filth." The filth, it's code for African and Asian migrants.
We may do the Hitler salute, but at least our hands are clean.
Wait. Your hand cleanliness is not people's chief concern. If you're going to start a sentence with "we may do the Hitler salute, but," you have to end it with something better than that. We may do the Hitler salute, but that's only to show how tall a llama is. It's about this tall. From my chest, it's about this tall, just about there. These guys have seats in the European Parliament now. This is one of their flags. That's basically a jaunty swastika. If Hitler was alive, he'd sue them for trademark infringement. And you know he'd do that. He was a real Nazi about intellectual property. And the worst thing is, these guys won't be lonely in the European Parliament. They'll be joining Hungary's Jobbik party. Let's check in on one of their rallies.
The May Day festival for supporters of Jobbik, Hungary's ultra-far-right political party. Just 3 years ago, it exploded onto the political scene on an anti-Semitic, anti-Roma gypsy ticket.
OK, a couple of things. A, that's terrifying. And B, quick side note, why do neo-Nazis always like metal? Is there anyone into both anti-Zionist conspiracy theories and smooth jazz? Hey there, we're Groove Step. We're here to denounce the mongrel races, but first let's jam. This is a little quiet storm off our new album, Pure Bloodlines. Give it up for Neil Whiteman on drums. Real name. Can't make it up. Outline of a Scottie dog. This is Panama. Panama caught the world's attention this week in a big way.
We turn now to the banking bombshell causing shockwaves around the world, the so-called Panama Papers.
It's one of the biggest data leaks in history, 11.5 million documents, blowing the lid off some of the world's most powerful people and their offshore billions.
This is absolutely huge, because the lid on billionaires' offshore accounts is similar to the lid on a yogurt that's been in the fridge for 3 years. If that lid comes off, stand back, you're about to see some nasty shit. So the Panama Papers are internal documents from a law firm called Mossack Fonseca, which specialised in creating offshore accounts. And given the sheer volume of information here, this story is going to take months to unfold. But it's already inflicting casualties. For instance, the documents linked Iceland's Prime Minister, Sigmundur David Gunnlaugsson, to a shell company called Wintris, which held millions of dollars. And watch his body language as a TV reporter brings it up for the very first time.
Mr. Prime Minister, what can you tell me about a company called Wintris?
Well, it's a company, if I recall correctly, which is associated with one of the companies that I was on a board of, and had an account, which, as I mentioned, has been with the tax on the tax account since it was established.
Holy shit! That is like watching a slow-motion car crash, or, as they say in Iceland, a slow-motion car crash. Come on, guys, they have cars in Iceland. It's a modern Nordic island nation, and their English is excellent. But Iceland has only just recovered from a huge economic downturn, so its citizens were understandably upset.
In Reykjavik, they've been throwing eggs and bananas at their parliament building.
They're throwing things at the parliament? Yes. Can you believe it?
I think they have not thrown enough.
Wow. Eggs and bananas. They're either angry at the Prime Minister or encouraging him to get on a paleo diet. And yes, I know that there's some controversy in the paleo community about whether or not bananas are paleo, but if you are infuriated by that joke, please know you're a terrible person. You're just terrible. And the point is, just days after those protests, the Prime Minister stepped down and was replaced by the Fisheries Minister. Because it seems in Iceland, the line of succession goes Prime Minister, the guy in charge of the fish, the Secretary of licorice-flavoured schnapps, a litany of elves that live in assorted boulders, and finally, anybody in a wool sweater who's feeling political. And if you're thinking, come on, how could he leave out Bjork? I didn't. She was one of the elves. Pay attention. Pay attention. We begin with Iran. Not just the setting for 2013 Best Picture winner Argo, also a country. Now, as of this morning, it seems Iran may be tantalisingly close to a historic nuclear deal.
This could be a country on the brink of change. A high-ranking Iranian official telling us just a short time ago she is quite optimistic that a deal will come in the next 24 hours.
Well, let's hope that is true, because these discussions have been going on for a year and a half. They're almost tantric negotiations. Except in this case, we're all really hoping that there is not a massive explosion at the end of it. If this deal is successful, we will have come a long way from earlier this week, when it seemed tensions between John Kerry and Iran negotiator Mohammad Javad Zarif might sink the whole thing.
Kerry and Zarif were yelling at each other so loudly that they could be heard outside of the room.
Now, that sounds bad. Yes, that sounds bad. Although it is actually preferable to hearing the sound of the two of them making up. Ugh. Ugh. Just low moans and the sound of what I hope is someone scooping out a cantaloupe. And the thing is, it wasn't just Kerry. The EU's Federica Mogherini supposedly also got involved in a heated dispute with Zarif, resulting in him shouting, "Never threaten an Iranian," although she had a very good explanation.
You wouldn't expect an Iranian and an Italian negotiating in a cold way. That is, I would say, part of our culture.
Of course it is. We all know the three most famous stereotypes of Italian culture are that they have close family relationships, they turn international negotiations into shouting matches, and they enjoy cooking pasta for dogs. You know, Italians. So let's move on. Let's move on to Greece, the most recent Greek tragedy. And also the subject of the other major negotiation taking place in Europe this week. Greece desperately needs another bailout, and if they can't reach a deal with the Eurozone, they may be forced to abandon the euro altogether, or, to put it another way,
a so-called Grexit, a Greek exit from the Eurozone.
To Grexit or not to Grexit?
I love saying the word Grexit, though. That just drives me crazy.
Yeah. Greece might Grexit, which is a pretty glib way to describe something potentially catastrophic that could devastate millions of lives. A cutesy name doesn't make a crisis less awful. When a doctor tells you you have anal warts, it doesn't help if he describes them as booty bumps. The main obstacle to a deal seems to be trust at this point, and the tone of some of the EU leaders has frankly not helped. Watch the former Belgian leader address the Greek Prime Minister just earlier this week.
You are talking about reforms, but we never see concrete proposals of reforms. You have to downsize the public sector. I know it's difficult maybe for the leftists, but it has to be done.
Wow. That might be the most insulting thing I've ever seen an outsider do to the Greek people, and I'm including this scene from Mamma Mia. Please, someone call the UN. We have a musical genocide on our hands. And look, neither side is blameless in this dispute. Greece is in this mess because it spent money like a rapper whose accountant is Nicolas Cage. And as for the EU, their so-called fix helps melt down the Greek economy. They're like a doctor trying to cure a patient through a steady regime of Jaeger shots and yelling. So, As of right now, it is unclear whether a deal is likely. But if it happens, Greece can take some consolation from the fact that their new finance minister, Euclid Sakalotos, would presumably be signing the agreement. And in perhaps the only act of rebellion left open to them, this is his actual signature. And I'm pretty sure that's the only reason he got the job. Look, it's pretty clear we're not going to get anything we want from these negotiations. Whose signature looks the most like a dick? Let's move on to Nebraska, a state you think about so little you didn't even realise that's not Nebraska. This is Nebraska. Come on, it's your country. That's not okay. Nebraska had some big and surprising news this week.
Nebraska is now the first conservative state in more than 40 years to abolish the death penalty.
That's right. You will no longer be sentenced to death by lethal injection in Nebraska, unless you count drinking their subsidised corn syrup through a straw, which is slow acting, but it will get you in the end. Nebraska has actually become the 19th state to outlaw the death penalty, but it wasn't easy. Their governor and enormous human thumb, Pete Ricketts, was staunchly opposed to the whole idea.
My words cannot express how appalled I am that we have lost a critical tool to protect law enforcement and Nebraska families.
Words cannot express? Why don't you try? It's a written public statement, you giant shaved owl. And incidentally, they picked the perfect photo there. Just look how happy he is at the idea of lethal injections. Interestingly, one of the reasons lawmakers voted to repeal the death penalty was purely practical, as it's become increasingly difficult to obtain the necessary drugs for executions. And watch how Ricketts tried to overcome that objection.
Yesterday, Nebraska Governor Pete Ricketts announced the state has successfully purchased drugs to administer the death penalty.
So he's essentially saying, hey guys, great news, I found the murder drugs that I've been looking for. How is that good news, you unpeeled hard-boiled egg with teeth? But it turned out anyway, his plan was a little flawed. First, the drugs he found were located in India and cost nearly $55,000 in taxpayer money. And that's expensive. We are talking Adderall in the Yale Library during finals week expensive. And secondly, there was this.
The FDA tells us, quote, with very limited exceptions, which do not apply here, it is unlawful to import this drug, and FDA would refuse its admission into the United States.
I get it. You're a dangerously secretive operation who work in the shadows with little accountability or oversight. Look, I'm not going to say that this is a completely unfunny tweet, but the context is wrong. It's like if a doctor interrupted Wolf Blitzer's colonoscopy by shouting, "Oh my God, Wolf, I think I just found the missing plane." I'm not saying that wouldn't be funny. It's just it's neither the time nor the place for a comment like that. That's the point. And since then, the CIA's questionable taste in jokes has only gotten worse.
The CIA also tweeted out, no, we don't know your password, so we can't send it to you. Hashtag sorry, not sorry. The CIA says, no, we don't know where Tupac is.
What are you doing? Tupac was famously murdered. He didn't vanish. The mystery isn't where he is, it's who killed him, which incidentally, you probably do know. In fact, the more you poke around on the CIA's website, the more you find things that make you question their social media team. This is a real video from the CIA Canine Unit.
My name is Bradley. I'm an explosive detection canine officer at the CIA. Have you ever wondered how an ordinary dog becomes a canine? Hi, Tessie. How do you like being a canine so far?
It's great. I'm learning a lot.
How would you like to tell these folks about what it takes to become a CIA canine?
I would love to.
Great.
What the hell did we just watch then? And by the way, CIA, you have a secret budget with virtually no oversight, and you can't even make their fucking mouths move. Even the dogs probably know that this video is weird. In fact, if we could hear what the dogs were really thinking, I bet you it would sound a lot more like this.
Hey, Chessie, how do you like being in a video for the CIA?
Seems kind of weird. I mean, who is this for?
Kids, I guess?
Sure, but why?
I don't know. The CIA has an image problem?
Well, then maybe they should stop operating secret prisons from Poland to Djibouti and needlessly spying on our closest allies during peacetime.
Hey, that might work.
Yay!
Hooray!
Woof!
Good. See? It's good. People liked it. That could be viral. Look, CIA, I get that you want to be the fun one, but A, you shouldn't be, and B, you're not even very good at it. Don't waste your time writing jokes when we can all help you with that. Here's one right now. Hey, 2.5 Men got renewed for a 12th season. That show's harder to kill than Fidel Castro. Hashtag murder fail. Or perhaps you like your old school jokes. Here's one. 3 Arab guys walk into a bar, 2 of them are never heard from again. Hashtag where did they go? Hashtag secret prison. Hashtag Uzbekistan. In fact, I would invite everyone at home to help the CIA write jokes more suitable to their actual history. Simply use the hashtag #BetterCIATweets. Because you can't spell colossal privacy violation without LOL. That's our show for this evening. Thank you so much for watching. We will be back next Sunday. Have a great week. Like every country, has struggled to engage its people with government programs and services. That's why they've come up with a quintessentially Japanese solution, mascots.
These are mascot characters created for local districts throughout Japan to promote the areas. Apparently, there are now over 1,500 such mascots.
There are official mascots for everything. Some cities have dozens of mascots. This is Noru-Run, mascot for a train line. And this is Katakuri-chan, the mascot for a notorious Japanese prison. That's right. Their prisons have mascots. And you've got to admit, The Shawshank Redemption would be a very different movie if every now and then that thing was walking around in the background. That's a different film. That's a very different film. And the thing is, mascots can be big business. Just look at Kumamon, one area's lovable bear mascot. He has brought in an estimated $1.2 billion over 2 years. And if you're wondering why, take a look at this.
Kumamon, 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 Kumamoto ga suki, Kumamon, Momon.
He's not even the most popular. That title goes to Funashi, a giant genderless pair representing the city of Funabashi. And not only does Funashi hold press conferences, he does some pretty incredible TV appearances. Let me show you just one. I don't know why anyone is still watching this show or any other show, now that they know that that video exists somewhere. Mascots have become such a feature of political life in Japan that foreign embassies are even being compelled to play along.
The Israeli embassy in Japan has unveiled its new mascot to the public, a parrot holding an olive branch named Shalom-chan.
I believe some Japanese will see Israel like this character.
Look, people see Israel a lot of different ways, but I don't think there is anyone on earth that sees it as that character. But that just proves the power mascots have to reach out and engage people, although not all are instantaneously lovable. For example, the prefecture of Nara is represented by Sento-kun, a shirtless boy creature with antlers on his head, who looks like the result of Andre Agassi fucking a reindeer. Or there's the objectively terrifying Melon Kumar, an angry bear with a melon for a head who represents Yubari. The problem is, the sheer scale of publicly funded mascots has become a problem. Last year, the Japanese Finance Ministry tried to crack down on them, describing some as a waste of public funds, which is ridiculous. Because not only should Japan not be cutting back, we in America should be creating our own mascots to engage people with government agencies. In fact, I'll do some for you right now. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome your 2015 government agencies. From the Department of Justice, Scales, the blind iguana. From Immigration and Customs Enforcement, Hamilton the pig. And of course, from the HHS, creepy baby with Hulk hands in a tutu. Ladies and gentlemen, we're just getting started. From the Department of Transportation, please welcome Stunk, the steampunk skunk. She loves trains. And from the National Security Agency, it's Hoots, the NSA owl. He just wants to know who you've been talking to. From the TSA, it's Spike the Hedgehog, who collects 4-ounce bottles of shampoo and Swiss Army knives. From your Department of Energy, Ram Jam, the dancing ram. He's got so much energy he never stops dancing. At the Department of Agriculture or NASA, we've got a soybean and a space gecko just for them. Plus, representing the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms and Explosives, here is acclaimed character actor Bob Banaban. And finally, from the Department of the Treasury, please say hi to Cornelius, the Illuminati pyramid. It has an eyeball on the top of it. So that's it. This is your 2015 government agencies. Look at them dance. Look at them dance, America. You cannot be apathetic about what you're looking at. For a quick recap of the week, on Friday, you may have felt a whiff of nostalgia in the air, and I'm not talking about Ninja Turtles. I'm talking about this.
Good morning. The U.S. military is back in Iraq.
Take a look at these images from the U.S. military. FA-18 fighter jets closing in on an ISIS artillery unit, and then here it comes, that massive explosion.
Yes, America is bombing Iraq yet again, and the world is experiencing a little deja boom. This time, though, it is strictly for humanitarian reasons, to prevent the genocide of the Yazidi people. And when he announced the airstrikes, the president was anxious to make two things clear. One, how this was the right thing to do, and two, how little he wanted to do it.
I know that many of you are rightly concerned about any American military action in Iraq, even limited strikes like these. I understand that. American combat troops will not be returning to fight in Iraq.
I've got to say, the president sounds a lot like a girl who is trying to reassure her friends that she's not getting back together with the ex-boyfriend that they all hate. Look, guys, I'm just getting a drink with Iraq, OK? He's having a really tough time right now. I will not be returning back to his place. Although, you know what? Text me at 10 o'clock tonight and remind me that he was a nightmare. Remind me of that. That's good for me to hear. In fact, there was really only one theme that most people took away from the speech.
A very reluctant President Obama gave the order for airstrikes in Iraq last night.
President Obama has been reluctant, to say the least.
He was reluctant to get in and take action here.
He seemed very reluctant to do this. Extremely reluctant.
Oh, yes. Reluctance. It's always been the best tone for leaders to use when inspiring troops before battle. Who can forget Henry V's immortal words, "Once more into the breach, dear friends"? Unfortunately, because obviously everyone would prefer not to go into the breach. No, even by breach standards, this breach is ghastly. Look, we all hate breaches, but we're going into this one. We don't have to like it, we just have to get this shit over with. Who's with me? Charge! Charge! Charge, charge, charge! Charge, charge, charge! And let's move on to India. And honestly, the last time a British person said that, we didn't leave for about 200 years. Now, India had some dramatic technological news this week.
This man is outraged after the government in India banned hundreds of adult websites.
It's my right. I mean, what I do inside my room, the government can't influence it whatsoever.
The order came from the Telecommunications Department over the weekend.
It's true. The Indian government banned 857 URLs, most of them porn sites, including, and these are real, jizzhuts.com, assbutts.com, and momhandjob.com. And If you're a fan of one of those sites, it was probably an emotionally turbulent day for you. Although, if you're a fan of momhandjob.com, I'm guessing every day is an emotionally turbulent day. Now, according to the Indian government, the aim was partly to prevent pornography from becoming a social nuisance. But the decision set off a fiery public debate.
How am I, in the confines of my home, without hurting a third person or influencing a third person, how am I causing disruption to public order?
Well, you might get corrupted and then become a...
I might get corrupted?
Become a sex maniac.
A sex maniac? That's weirdly prudish, because India is not famously repressed about sex. Remember, this is the nation that brought us the Kama Sutra, a sort of mix between sex, yoga, and a skiing accident. The ban was actually lifted just 2 days later, but the Indian government should not feel bad about giving in, because if their aim was to tamp down their citizens' libidos, there is no better way than by allowing full access to the websites they banned, such as, and again, these are real, randyhags.com, oldwomanface.com, all free nude old granny mature women XXX porn pics.